Hi, people. I think so. You might notice that we are trying a new setup today. Um, yeah, I was a little tired of sitting on the table, so I thought, okay, why not try a new setup? So today, I'm going to talk about a topic which I personally I am really a big fan of. Also, something I've been really looking for. So I feel like after the age in our lives, we all look for like some deeper meaning in life, and for that we read different books or different people that you want to look up to. So I have also always been looking for people to look up to. I'm not a huge autobiography fan. Maybe I haven't read much. मतलब मैंने ज़्यादातर लोगों की autobiographies नहीं पढ़ी actually, लेकिन I do like reading people's work, people's text, and philosophy is something I'm really passionate about. And basically, when I say philosophy, it is more in the lines of, a method, a way of life, or a school that has really thought deep into these issues of life, death, living itself. So I was also, just going through these things, and I was just curious, whenever you actually, if you go, try this today, okay? Go Google up some names around some philosophers, and you always see some, names from the West. And I mean, I have always been a huge fan of Nietzsche, who's a German philosopher, or Foucault, who's a French philosopher, and also, of course, the Greek philosophers. But as I have growing, as I've been growing older, wiser, I would say, I've also been trying to look for something more Eastern, something little more rooted for me, little more closer to my home, which is India. And so I have been looking for Indian philosophers. And if I have to go dig deeper into that, I have been looking for female philosophers. And I mean, to be honest, I'm not shocked, but I am surprised that I was not able to find many. So let me dig deep into this. That since I did spend some time, I wanted to share it with you that, there are some of them, very few, but there are. So most of the Indian philosophers or Indian female philosophers that I have been able to find were mostly coming from religion. And now, when I say religion, please do understand religion means very different in India versus the West. In religion, in the West, it's more of Christianity or Islam, which is very much a book, a religion based out of book. Whereas in Hinduism, which is one big religion in this part of the world or eastern part of the world, it's more Hinduism. It's not really written. It's more of oral. It's more of traditions that have been passed from guru to shishya. So it's more of conversations, debates, dialogues, which have really not been written about it. So a lot of these philosophies were, you know, made in those spaces in dialogue. So there are so many multiple problems. First of all, it has not been written. Second of all, most of them were being debated or in dialogue or in big groups that people are discussing. So often, even if women were there, we really don't know. So these are some of the names that I was able to look up, and I think you should also know about these names because they are very interesting people who have played an important role in the history of Indian philosophy, I would say. So one such name was that I came across was Maitri. Maitri was one of the famous Indian philosophers who is considered like an Advaita philosopher, and some parts of Wikipedia says that she was married to Yajnavalkya, who was another philosopher. Some part of Wikipedia says that she never married and she remained a scholar all her life. She's one of those people who spent a lot of energy and thought and debate on Atman, the self, and she has been considered to play a very important role in these debates. And I think so one of the colleges in Delhi University in India has been named after her, Matri College. So I think it's important for us to really know about Matri. Then we have Akka Mahadevi. Again, she's another important figure from Karnataka who Akka in Kannada, it's a language in Karnataka, means sister. And this was a name that was given by another philosopher, Basnava, again from Kannada Bhakti movement, who saw that kind of spirit or energy in Akka Mahadevi. She was somebody who was heavily into bhakti. Bhakti means worshipping, and she was a bhakt of or somebody who believed in Shiva, the Lord. So she was heavily into worshipping, and she believed that most of our life we are just supposed to worship. Everything around is supposed to be taken care of, and I think there are different stories around whether she was married or whether she did not agree to marry, and how when the king who wanted to marry her, when he violated some of the rules between her and the king, how she walked off. And actually, Akka Mahadevi is more, I mean, there is a whole image of Akka Mahadevi of, she, when she when she got angry, when the king violated, she walked off, leaving everything behind from the palace, and she just left with her long hair and nothing else, and with no clothes, and then she just started walking like like a jugni, or like a guru, like a sadhu, and then she just spent the rest of her life like an ascetic who was just preaching about how worship and about life, and she just kept on worshiping and preaching. So Akka Mahadevi is another important figure. A lot of people, she's also a very important figure who has spoken a lot about equality, who's spoken a lot about female sexuality, has spoken a lot about what does it mean to love someone, what does it mean to worship someone, what does it mean to dedicate a life uh, to someone. So Akka Mahadevi again has a very important role, and I do think more and more of us should know about them. Now we should also know another philosopher, and her name, I mean, her original name, Wikipedia says, is Nandini Sundar, and she's actually more famous in the name of Anandi Mai Ma. And the name itself, it's Bengali, and it basically means somebody who's filled with happiness or contentment. And that's because how she was, even as a child, she was always very happy. There's an incident, Wikipedia says so, where when she was young and her mother was very, very ill, but she was just happy, and people thought that was very weird for a young person to be so happy and not be disturbed by what's happening in the world. So Anandamai was another important spiritual leader who, in especially in Bengal, where she was married off young, and even though she spent her time with her husband, she was more, into spiritual readings, more into meditation, more into actually just worshipping. Who really believed that this she didn't think that people need to really spend so much of energy in meditating, or she really believed we all had that happiness, and people also saw it in her. So people wanted to be around her, people wanted to be that happiness that she had. And she was also, I mean, she at the age of 26, she herself initiated her own RITE, where she believed that she wanted to leave this Maya and this more Maya around most of us, and she wanted to just move on and go to the next phase of her life. And she felt like, she said that there was a calling and she had to move to the next phase of her life. And that's when she and her husband, they went and they set up a small ashram, and then people used to come visit her. So Anandi Mai is another very important figure who have played such an important role in the history of philosophy and female philosophers. Now it's very interesting if you look at all these people, like most of them have been rooted in spirituality or religion, and it might be debated. In the West, if you feel like, oh my God, if you look at all these big names, they've always been academicians or scholars who have written books, whereas most of the names I have said till now are people who were into religion. But we also have to understand that if you go in the history of Western philosophy also, like Saint Augustine, a lot of Saint Thomas Aquinas, they were also Christian fathers, who were reading scriptures, who were thinking, meditating on Bible and the deeper scriptures. So it's the same even in India, and it's even more interesting and important to realize that women really did not have a space in the same way as a Christian father would have to read text or meditate. So these women, in their own way, whatever they did was revolutionary, and I would say even radical. So yeah, these are some of the names I would say. The more I'm digging up, like I said in the beginning of the video, I'm still digging up. it's very interesting that the more recent it becomes, the more and more women, there have been more bigger names like Gayatri Spivak, who have written a lot on feminism, who has written a lot on post-colonial studies, who has written a lot on the migration and how who's an Indian. There have been a lot of people who have who were brought up in India, but they moved out and they have done a lot of work. But yeah, these are just some names that are slowly picking up, and I want those names, more and more these names to come up. So yeah, this is just a video in making, in the process. We're gonna try to keep looking for more philosophers, and maybe this is the first time I'm trying this, so maybe the content is all over the place, and I'm really sorry about it. But idea is right now it was just to introduce you guys to these names so that we actually have even an inkling of who these people are. And if I'm able to find text, maybe in future I'm actually going to read text of their work. What did they actually write? What did Akka Mahadevi say? What was she trying to say in through her bhakti movement? And how did it really play a movement? And maybe we can actually dig up more names. If you know more names, maybe in your city or from your state or from your culture, I'm sure there will be more names that I was not able to find out through Wikipedia. Please do add them on the comments, and I would be more than happy to go dig up, read, and if possible, make videos on those names that you have suggested. But yeah, thank you so much for listening till now. Bye bye.